The Mysterious Comet, Chapter 3. The Penmarch Cyclone, May 23rd, 1925. Early in the morning of the 25th, a remarkable cyclone passed over Penmarch and Cape Finisterre, Brittany, similar in type to the Glamorgan tornado or the Amalfi landslip. Great destruction resulted along a circumscribed path to life and property. At 1:45 a.m. of the same day, at approximately 100 miles south of Penmarch and about 60 miles southwest of the port of Rochefort, the French transport Lorette encountered in a practically calm sea an enormous tidal wave which smashed the deckhouse. Lieutenant Cornet, commander of the Lorette, took the position at the time as latitude 45 degrees 7 north, long 3 degrees 57 west. It so happens that this part of the Bay of Biscay is well known to mariners and to the French Navy as the quote, Cup of Antioch, and the official charts give a depth of 2,250 fathoms, 13,500 feet. The bay was thoroughly charted by the late Prince of Monaco, whose charts enjoy authority and mark the deep in fathoms. On July the 6th, Lieutenant Cornet and the Lorette at the same spot took soundings and to his surprise discovered that instead of deep water under his keel for a course of 50 nautical miles, the depths its fathom ranged only from 12 to 34 fathoms, and in one spot 45 fathoms, with a sand and gravel seabed. Thus the bay had filled up over 2,000 fathoms with a sand and shingle bottom. The Times, August the 5th, 1925. The French Minister of Marine, in August the 4th, publicly announced that in what had always been believed the deepest part of the bay, the deep no longer existed, and specialists of the Hydrographic Service were sent to investigate on the spot. The vessel of the Hydrographic Department of the French Navy found no trace of the supposed submarine plateau, but the Daily Mail, February 3rd, 1926, reports that the liner La Bourdonnais from South America to Bordeaux had taken soundings and had found slightly to the east of where the Lorette took her soundings depths of only 40 fathoms. With respect to the Hydrographic Department, it is difficult to believe that these mariners even, were all labouring under some delusion when they took the soundings. On the authority of the Times, August 5th, 1925, soundings both with machine and by hand were continued for several hours. The commander of La Bourdonnais cannot either have been mistaken. In 1918, a similar surprise was occasioned by the discovery that the seafloor off Cape Ortegal, at the southern end of the bay, had also largely risen. Sea currents may drift sand across to the Bay of Biscay, although after all a deep which has existed as far back as nautical records go should not suddenly fill up. There are other similar accounts elsewhere of extraordinary hydrographic changes in other parts of the world, and the explanation is that they are deposited by meteors and that a certain amount of drift takes place. The Penmarch Cyclone, since there was a big tidal wave, implies that a foreign body struck the sea, and accordingly had some part in raising up the sea bottom. Volcanic islands, supposed by some miraculous manner to have been thrown up from the ocean depths, are actually thrown down, afford evidence of substantial additions to the raising of the ocean depths, a problem of very considerable moment to the dwellers of the earth. Yep, that is a bit of a concern, especially if you happen to be living in Britain, or any sort of small island. We're not going to be here in about 500 years. The Penmarch Cyclone, as stated, coincided with the almost simultaneous earthquake of Toyooka, Japan, 60 miles northwest of Kobe, of Kumihama, and at Kinosaki. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Toyooka burst into flames. Kinosaki nearby was devastated and Kobe suffered great damage. A railway station was entombed by the collapse of a tunnel. Buildings of size were thrown down or cracked, and at Toyuka, 200 houses crashed and 1,200 were severely damaged. Sunday Times, May 24th, 1925. The Times newspaper drew attention to the strange coincidence in time between the two events of the Biscay tidal wave and the Toyuka earthquake, although so far apart in point of distance. But it is not in the least surprising that the two events, so dissimilar in outward appearance, may have been related. Meteors frequently split in two or more parts and fall separately, moving at a pace which annihilates mere mileage. Where they strike is largely chance, though certain latitudes are more affected than others. Yet, on the assumption that both these events were meteoric in origin, if the meteor that caused the Toyuka earthquake had fallen a few miles further north, there would only have resulted a tidal wave, and if the passing meteor that caused the Penmarch Cyclone had also fallen a few miles further north, Brittany would have experienced an earthquake as disastrous as Toyuka. As we proceed to examine other cases, the proof of meteoric contact will become convincingly clear.